and welcome to the show.
I'm so comfortable, Jenna.
I know, this is so exciting. Like, all giddy that we've got the fancy chairs this week. We're all cozy here in the North Pole.
I feel like this is going to make us talk even more than we usually do. We're talking about something we both love, Christmas and books, on today's episode. So get ready for it. We clap in every episode. I'm like, yeah. I'm always so pumped.
We're excited. I am seriously so excited to talk about Christmas books with you today because I know you know this. I'm not sure if everyone else does. I love Christmas. I love books. And I honestly have, after giving some away, about 50 Christmas books on my coffee table at home.
What?
Yeah. And that spans from like little kid kind of books right up to adult books, because it's starting to get to a point where it's almost an equal amount now.
Wow.
For a long time, there was a lot of kids' books, and now it's kind of coming to a bit of an equilibrium.
Well, now that your kids are getting older too.
Yeah.
But that was actually something I said to you when you pulled out your books. I was surprised at how few, because I knew she had a lot. So I was surprised at how few you brought with you. But there's also another reason for that.
Yes. I
this
brought
top book here. You'll see it's
what
wrapped.
did I bring? Maybe about 10 books with me today. So yes, the one book that's on the top of the pile here is wrapped up in paper, because what we do and what we've done since, oh my goodness, this is probably the 7th year, maybe the 8th year, that I have wrapped 24 Christmas books for my kids, that each day in December we'll open another one and read it together. So of course that means that a good chunk of my Christmas book collection is currently wrapped in paper on my coffee table. So I snuck through and opened and felt very much like a child again, sneaking, finding wrapped presents and opening them, trying to find a specific book to bring, because while there are a lot of really great books that I would love to share with you that are still in that pile, there was one in particular that I had to bring to share with everyone.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Because if you don't know this book and you live in New Brunswick, you need to, even if you don't live in New Brunswick, but especially if you live in New Brunswick, you should own this Christmas book.
Gadzooks, the Christmas Goose. Okay.
So it's written by Jennifer McGrath, who is a fantastic writer, lives in Alberta County. I know that's close to Tosh's heart.
Straight to my heart.
Oh yes. She has a lot of really lovely books. She has one called The Snow Nose that came out a couple years ago. Nose as in like Knows, not your nose on your face. It's a beautiful book. It's won a whole bunch of awards. This one was one she wrote much earlier. I don't even know. Early on in her career, like 10 years ago, maybe. I don't know.
Does she publish through Chocolate River Publishing? Is that her? Because there is a couple other Goose books that my daughters have.
No, that's a different series of Goose books.
Something Goose Butt or something like that.
Yes, yes, that's a different one. This one was through Nimbus.
Okay.
And yeah, Gadzooks the Christmas Goose is a fantastic story about a family and their goose at Christmas time, and I really don't want to give anything away because it's so fun to read. And what's really fantastic about it too is that like it's long enough that it's, you know, if your kids are a bit older and can sit and read, you can actually take the time. And the illustrations are so fun in this one. They're just absolutely gorgeous. And it's this really, really sweet story of a girl and her grandparents and their goose.
And their goose.
And yeah, I think everyone in New Brunswick should have a copy of this Christmas book, and I think that you should gift it to everyone you know too. So.
Okay. So that was my next question with you. You said you have a lot of books. Is that because you buy at least a new book every year for your kids to unwrap, or because you're obviously wrapping up the same ones every year, but does a new one get snuck in there?
I usually try to mix it up a little bit, and yeah, it's not, I don't always pick up a new book. At least every second year I'd say there's been a new book. And then some years, especially early on, that was definitely the case, because a lot of people get overwhelmed by the idea of like, oh my goodness, I'd have to buy 24 books. Do you know how expensive books are?
Exactly.
They are expensive, but you can get around it in different ways. When the kids were really little, the first year I did it, I bought a set of 12 little board books that told the story of the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the clay animation special.
Nice.
That was broken up into 12 books. Well, I wrapped each one individually.
Yeah.
That was 12 of them right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then over time, as we filled in the other books, well, those got wrapped as one day, not 12 days. Bundle books from Scholastic. A lot of times you can get, 5 to 10 books for $20 through Scholastic. Fantastic deals, great books. Another one of our family favorites came from one of those, actually. Sneezy the Snowman. Sneezy the Snowman is hard to find because I've had to replace our original copy. But if you can find this, if you see this at a used bookstore or, in the free bin at the library when they've taken things out of circulation, pick it up because it's adorable. Okay. We've made Sneezy on our lawn. And it's really great too if you're doing the countdown to find some really kind of wintry books for the start, so you're not overdoing it with holiday stuff right from the start. So things that are about snowmen, because then you can also keep them out throughout the winter if that's what you want to do. It's not necessarily Christmas specific for the countdown books that we do, but yeah, Sneezy, family favorite.
Another thing on that too, wintry books, but also potentially getting books about other celebrations throughout the month of December. I know my daughter brought home one about a Jewish elf the other day, and I can't remember what, Smelf I think was the name of it. And but both of my daughters loved it, and then it brought many conversations. What is Judaism, stuff like that, which at their ages I was like, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah, we have at least one, if not two, Hanukkah books that I try to look at the calendar and make sure that I actually get them in there, that it lines up with the celebration as well, which sometimes is easier said than done depending on the calendar year. But yeah, that's definitely something that we try to do. And it's really great now too. There's a lot of really cute books and a lot of things that come, from our childhood that you can bring out, but there's so much more diversity that's easily accessible to us now. There's a couple books that, especially through Scholastic, we've been able to find some really great selections.
I know, next time you do that Scholastic sale, I have to go with you. She has, I think you've actually messaged me from it one time, and I was like, I really should be there.
Yes, I miss the warehouse sales.
But there is, speaking of that, that reminds me, remember when we used to get the Scholastic books, the book orders when we were kids? That's actually where this came from. And one of my other favorite books, I had my mom message me photos of, she was going through my books from when I was a kid, and one of them is The House Without a Christmas Tree, which I thought was fantastic. That one. I'm going to pull my phone out and show you it because it was a really great book. And The House Without a Christmas Tree is by Gail Rock. And I'm sure it was, probably put out in the 80s or something like that.
But that's such an 80s book.
It's
beautiful.
80s book. It is.
Oh, the Dell Yearling books. Yeah, I remember lots of those. I don't think I ever read this one.
Yeah, I loved it, and I'm sure my daughter, when she gets her hands on it, will probably love it too. This is the one I had told you about a couple of episodes ago. That it's a Adventures of the Bailey School Kids, which they have a huge selection of those books, and this one was my absolute favorite. And big giant words, I could read it in a day. And when I came across it here in town, I was so excited to find it at one of those online auctions. So I got my hands on this for my oldest daughter, and we read it together. And it was like one of the best moments of my life because I loved it so much when I was a kid. And it came from the Scholastic orders.
So on the same kind of vein, look right here, from Scholastic, the best Christmas pageant ever. And same thing, I had a copy of this when I was a kid, probably grade 3, grade 4, I'm thinking. And I read it so often that the pages fell apart. And sure enough, I ended up picking up a new copy of it because I want my kids to read it. Yeah. And it was the same, and I seem to recall that the other version I had the best and crossed out worst Christmas pageant because it's one of those it's going to be a disaster, but then it's really great in the end, that kind of thing. And it's all about
Miracle of Christmas.
Oh yes, the Herdmans were absolutely the worst kids in the history of the world.
Good start.
You gotta love a story that starts like that, right?
It's true. Especially when you're 9, 10, 11 years old.
It is, and it's. What do we got? It's 80 pages with some little pictures. It's not, the graphic novels that my kids are into now, but there's some neat illustrations, and it's just all about this Christmas pageant at school that's just going to go off the rails, right?
Off the rails, yeah. It's neat, to have those books, and then to see, our kids who are roughly the same age moving into different books, and you've got a pile of like youth books there.
Yes.
But I wanted to bring this one up because my 9-year-old picked this up, and this is brand new this year. It's the J.K. Rowling, The Christmas Pig, and this is how far she's gotten in it because it's not keeping her attention. I don't know if it's just not good or it's just a little bit too old for her. So I thought maybe I'm gonna read it, and then
that's
and then
usually
we'll
what
see.
happens in our house with those books. I tend to pick them up, and I have them first before they kind of move on. Although we're starting to get to that point where it's like, I don't have to read it to see what's in it anymore.
Right.
It's a matter of who gets to it first.
Who gets their hands on it? Yeah.
And some of those books that have come into our house, and I'll be curious to know what you think of that one, because we don't have that one yet, and I'm actually kind of curious as to whether or not it might just mysteriously show up at our house. A Boy Called Christmas, I picked up years ago, and both my husband and I have read it.
Okay.
We quite enjoyed it. It's very kind of that fanciful, childhood story. And then sure enough, it's one of the Netflix specials this year.
That's what you were. I was like, I know
Yeah.
that title, and that's what you were telling
But
me about.
there's at least 3 books in the series. So they've only made 1 movie, but there's 3 books now, and we have all 3 of them. And yeah, it's really fun. Same thing. There's little sketches throughout it. There's your map you're going to find. I don't want to give away any of the story, and I haven't watched the movie yet, so I don't know how close it is. But we really enjoy his writing, Matt Haig, and the illustrations in the book. So yeah, there's 3 of these books now. So if you're looking to gift someone with, in around, I would say, yeah, like ages 8 to 12. Some kids will be able to read it on their own. Some they'll have to read it as a family. Both options are fantastic. So yeah, if you're looking for some gift ideas, there's actually a fair number of books in this kind of middle zone now that weren't there before.
Right.
Like that only came out a few years ago. This one also only came out a few years ago.
The
It's called
Christmasosaurus?
The Christmasaurus. Believing is the most powerful magic of all, which, okay, how could I not buy it if that's what it says on the cover? And it's this boy on his Christmas dinosaur. And you can see on the back that the boy is actually in a wheelchair. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he has CP, which is part of the reason that I picked it up originally. And yeah, like the Christmasaurus is just taking him
That's
off
fun.
on this wild adventure. And it's, yeah, another really perfectly written for the kid who likes dinosaurs and dragons. And, it's not all about Santa. It's about a Christmasaurus.
I also really like the
The illustrations are
yeah,
lovely.
But book nerd alert, I like the paper it's written on.
Oh.
It's thick, it's heavy.
You
Need it.
really are a book
I
nerd.
am,
I'm
yeah,
loving
I'm
it.
like, oh.
I do.
It's the kind of one you just want to touch it.
Well, I have the same, and I don't like when they have what do you call it? The edges aren't straight.
Yeah, yes.
Alex, my husband loves those kind, and I'm like, oh,
No.
I want to fix the pages when they're like that.
I just want to take it to a paper cutter
Yeah.
and straighten that out.
Yep.
But that is a
It's
hardy book.
that's a nice, and what's really nice too is when we only bring it out, like I put these away. These don't stay on the shelf. They have their own bin that they get tucked away in each year. So it's, when your kids are really little, you may have done the toy rotation thing. It's kind of the same idea with the books. I tuck the books away, and so when they come out each year, it's like, oh, I forgot about that. It's so like, there's that joy because
Yeah.
it's not something that's always there.
And also, they don't end up looking like this. I was like going through books, and because I don't put mine away, and we were talking to my mom on the phone at the same time, and I was like, from now on, the books get put away because they get beat up, and the kids don't care about them because they've been around forever. These, again, Scholastic books, these cute little ones for kindergarten. Both my girls had the same kindergarten teacher. And that's what she buys the kids at Christmas time
A lot
and
of our
at the end of the
teachers have
school
done
year.
that too.
Yes,
Yeah.
books, and they're always the sweetest. And I am certain that she makes sure that they fit with the child. Do you know what I mean? Like the littlest little reindeer. Erin was the youngest kid in her kindergarten class. You know what I mean? Like maybe she doesn't do it on purpose, but.
But we're going to
way,
believe that she does
I
because she's
am.
a great teacher.
She is a great teacher. So take care of your books was kind of the importance of that one. Like This one, my daughters were like, "You're gonna bring the Paw Patrol book, Mom? We're not into Paw Patrol anymore."
We have Paw Patrol book too.
Yeah. I'm like,
our Paw Patrol Christmas book is in French, which is also really nice.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so we've gotten to the point where our stack of 24 books, it's not quite equal between French and English, but it's getting there. And again, I tried to put a lot of the French books earlier on in the pile because I know they'll still be in school, and it's great then when they come home from school and they're supposed to do their 15 minutes of reading in French. Well, you could open a book. Let's see if today's book is in French if you don't want to read something else that we have on the shelf. So yeah, that's been, and again, Scholastic has been really handy. They are not sponsoring this or anything. We just end up buying a lot of books from there.
Let us come shopping.
But also like all the thrift shops and like you mentioned online auctions, there's lots of places where you can find books that you can get at a reasonable cost. And if you watch the sales at the bookstores, even at Chapters and Tidewater down in Sackville, any of your independent booksellers, if you can buy one new book from them each season and then kind of pick things up along the way. If your kids are young and you're interested in doing this, let your family and friends know that you're looking for books and that you'd accept books as gifts.
That's actually, that's a really good point.
They're fantastic. And, if space is an issue, this is something that someone can gift you. That's a physical thing they can give your child, but it's also something you can tuck away because it's seasonal.
It's very true. It doesn't take up room in your spot at house. And if you're traveling for the holidays too, it's not going to take up a whole lot of room in your suitcase, which is extremely important when you're taking an entire family in one suitcase. I think that, it's a great idea. And I loved how you were talking earlier too about picking a book and reading it at night. And, that helps with like the Christmas spirit, but at the same time, it then could potentially like, oh my God, I love doing this so much. Roll it into the whole year, which I think is a really great idea too.
So on that note, I have to make sure I get this one in because this is perhaps now my all-time favorite Christmas book. It's called The House of the Wooden Santas.
Okay, I've seen you talking online about this.
I know, it is so good. So it's written by Kevin Major, who's a fantastic author. He's got lots of great books. He's from Newfoundland. And this book is just visually stunning. So if you're listening to the podcast and not watching the show, the video version on Rogers, go and look up this book because the pictures are just incredible. It's about a single mom and she carves wooden Santas and she's trying to sell them leading up to Christmas time. So I'm going to show you this was yesterday's that we read last night, and it's Hockey Santa. So each day, the way the story is constructed, it starts at the beginning of December. And, the first chapter, 24 days to Christmas.
So it's like an advent calendar in a book.
So each night we cuddle up and read that day's story. And some days are 1 page, some days are 2 page. There's a few that are a little bit longer, but they're never more than a short sit down amount of time. And I think this is the 3rd year now that my daughter and I have done this together. And she's 10. She's starting to get into that like tween kind of stage, and opening the Advent books is not as fun as it was when you were little, but she gets so excited about sitting down to read this together that it's just absolutely beautiful. And the carvings in it are all actually wooden Santas that were carved by a Cape Breton woman years ago and photographed for this book, and they're just
wow,
stunning.
yeah, they're impressive.
And the story is so lovely, and I'm not going to give it away, but if you're looking for a really great gift to give a family, I would highly suggest this because you could sit down and read it in one go, but you can also do that where you sit and read a chapter each night. And like I said, the chapter's really about 2 pages. It's just lovely to watch the story unfold.
Which is really great too, especially if you have, like, your children are very different. One child that would love to sit and listen and another that does not want to sit and listen. They're short. So, it's not too much time trying to wrangle the one that doesn't want to listen to the story. I love that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and the main character is a 9-year-old boy. So it hits that, 9-year-old boys are a little tricky to get to sit and listen to Christmas stories, let me tell you.
However, would you know?
Yes, but so this book has lots of hockey and lots of pranks and mischief, and this really tug at your heartstrings story about this single mom trying to make Christmas happen. And it's just absolutely lovely and all about believing in that magic of these wooden Santas who show up.
Wow. Okay, tell me about this book here, because I'm noticing an Anne M. Martin book.
Yes.
Who, in my house, we are currently obsessed with the
Well,
Babysitter's
that,
Club.
that was part of why I brought it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one actually, I don't remember seeing it as a kid.
Is it a Babysitter's
It's
Club?
not a Babysitter's
Christmas one?
Club.
Okay.
No, it's another book that Anne wrote. She does have several books outside of the Babysitter's Club series. That's what she's known for.
Yeah.
But some of my favorite books when I was a kid were by her, and they weren't the Babysitter's Club books. I'm trying to say, where? So yeah, this came out in 2006. That's why I didn't know it as a kid.
Oh, we were a little busy not being children then.
Not being children and not having children yet
Yeah.
at that point. So, yeah, it's this really sweet story about a girl, and it's set in the 50s that it starts. Yes, the autumn of 1958. Yeah, and yeah, it's another nice story about believing and about Christmas traditions in a family, and yeah, I feel like you would enjoy this one.
I would. I
Yeah.
said, I'm the same as you. Anything by Anne M. Martin, and I am in.
That's pretty much how that one ended up in the collection. It's like if her name's on it,
Yeah, it's got to be good, right? It's
Yes.
like Judy Blume. If it's a Judy Blume book, sold.
yes.
Yeah.
But it's nice to start to have these books that are for a little bit older readers. And with those, I'm not going to wrap them. I think this is probably the last year that I'm going to have a stack of 24 wrapped books sitting
Yeah.
on my table. But there will still be, like I said, there's already, you can see, enough of a stack that everyone will have books they can read at Christmas time that's going to, and there's a few, like Sneezy the Snowman's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I also have Bear Stays Up, which is a baby board book. This is never leaving my possession. Maybe if my kids have kids, they might get to have it. This one was really sweet. It's just, this lovely little story about how Bear wakes up because he's been hibernating, and all his woodland friends help him celebrate Christmas. And then, of course,
We
he's
read that
able,
the other day.
Yeah,
My
it's
daughters
just-
and I. Where did I see that?
it's just absolutely, there's a lot of these bear books, but the Christmas one is just, it's really sweet. It's a nice friendship story, right? It's not about mums and dads and kids and Santa. It's about a bunch of woodland friends.
Which is perfect.
It's, there is a bit of Santa, but it's not over the top like some of the other ones are. And I know some people really look for that. They don't like things that feed into the commercial aspect that's happened around Christmas. And I would say this is a really sweet one if you're into a more low-key Christmas vibe. This is a great book for that.
Yeah, I think my youngest brought that home from library the other day, is what I think it was. I want to point out that we have 2 Curious George books. There was a time in my oldest daughter's life that she was obsessed with Curious George, and just the Christmas special, actually.
Interesting.
And there's a part, and it's actually in this board book, but it's also in the Christmas special on TV, and it's called Christmas Monkey, and the song is Christmas Monkey, everyone loves a Christmas monkey.
That's what book I didn't find.
See, what,
oh my
Christmas
goodness.
Monkey?
No, Moose and a Maple Tree. It is our favorite book. We have an autographed copy. Oh my goodness. Is it?
Someone's got it stashed in their
They
room.
do. It wasn't on the table. Where's my book? Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna have to wrap this up because I have to go home and find my book now. But I'll also point out, if you want adult reading suggestions as well, these are 2 of the, I don't know, half a dozen or more books that are on my table for that too. And just like cheesy Christmas movies, some of the books are good, some of them not so much. These two I kept. I did not. I don't mind that I spent the money to buy In a Holidays. That came out last year, I think.
Okay.
It's really cute and fun. And Christina Lauren is actually 2 people who wrote the book together. It's really fun.
That's neat.
And Kristen Hanna, a lot of people will know her. She writes some really incredible stuff. Her Comfort and Joy is a holiday fable. And it was nice to read as well. So
Perfect.
if you're looking at Christmas books for adults, being like, I don't know if that one's any good, those are 2 I would suggest.
Excellent. Before we go and find Jenna's book at home, a quick shout out to this episode's sponsor, again, our friends at the Tie-Dye Co. here in the Greater Moncton area, for providing our festive sweaters.
So cozy, and they have so many fabulous things, not just this style, all kinds of amazing gifts.
My friend Steph was like, I hate that you got that sweater because now I've ordered them for my entire family. She did. She got them for herself and her 2 kids, the ones that say Merry Christmas. And then her husband was like, where's mine? So then she had to order him one too, which I think is fantastic. So you can pick them up. You can follow the links in
the show notes.
In the show notes and everything to find out where to get yourself something before Christmas.
Happy holidays, everyone. We've got one more episode before we wrap up 2021. So we'll see you next week.